What is happening, folks? Verdansk is back, and there's a hell of a lot of people playing Call of Duty again, which makes me a very happy boy. One of the key things that makes Warzone different from any battle royale is the choice of loadout.
Okay, let's go.
One of the key parts of Warzone loadout, which often gets overlooked by the thousands of YouTube videos giving you different class setups, is the perk system. Today we're going to be taking a real deep dive into Perk Slot 3, as I think it's the most important, but also the most complicated perk slot of them all. We're going to go over every perk in Perk Slot 3 and decide if it's actually good enough to get you some wins, or if it belongs in the trash. So in Perk Slot 3, we've got 6 perks. In this video, I'm going to be ranking them from worst to best, with number 6 being the worst and number 1 being the best. And coming in, starting us off with a stinky number 6, would be Resolute. So Resolute gives you 15% movement speed bonus whenever you're taking damage. And if you just seen that kill and how fast I killed that guy, you understand why this perk is last in my list. Basically, the time to kill in Warzone Verdansk anyway, is extremely low. And I know this is something they've done on purpose, and I don't think it's something they're ever going to change. They've kind of brought it in to try and level the playing field between players that kind of can't aim as well to players that can aim as well. Just basically, if you're able to kill them quicker, you know, you might not notice your bad aim, and anyone can kill anyone. I'm not going to pass any comments on what I think of this change. You know, sometimes I think it's great because it makes you value your life, but then sometimes I get killed by an absolute bot because I'm just caught off guard and I don't have a chance to react. But pretty much, Resolute is useless. That guy also got fried, by the way. This AK-47 is unbelievable. And not even is the TTK too fast for this perk to even take effect. 15% really is not that much if you think about it. Like 15% on like an increase of a sprint speed isn't great. The only thing that might help you is like a really good like strafe, but it's just some perk that you don't really need, and it's number 6 in this list, you know. Just don't use this perk. Coming in next at number 5 would be Gung-Ho. Gung-Ho is another movement based perk. I swear to God, I just don't hate movement. But pretty much Gung-Ho reduces any movement penalties you have whenever you're reloading or using equipment, and also means that you can reload using tac sprint. And the reason why this is number 5 on my list is because I just don't really see many use cases where this perk is going to be that useful, and like I mean consistently useful. The only scenario I can think of is if like you're using a sniper and you take someone's armor off and they're reasonably close or something, and you need to push them before they play it up, you know, get them final few kills or final few shots to secure the kill. That's kind of the only scenario I can like see this perk being useful. And just compared to the other perks in this list, I don't think it's going to benefit you like consistently over a match. And I'm not really going to talk about it much more. It's just not a very good perk. This tip coming up, by the way, this compact's really good up close, but long range, it's terrible. Midway through that spray, I genuinely had to like reset my spray there because the recoil was just going crazy. But luckily, was able to clean that one up. And number 4, this is where it starts to get a little bit dicey, because I actually think these next 4 perks are quite close together, and you could probably find a use case for each and every one. But in 4th slot, I had to put Bird's Eye. And this one might be a little bit controversial because I have read a few things and watched a few videos where people are ranking this in their top 2. So many people even putting it as the best perk. But pretty much Bird's Eye means that UAVs you call in are 25% larger and show the heading of the enemy for your squad. Now that's key. And it also detects pairs of ghosts. However, people with ghosts do not show a heading. Now, I'm putting this one at 4th, but I really think there's a strong case that if you're playing in a team of like 3 or 4 people, that one person in your team should be using Bird's Eye. And then any money in your team's kind of dropped to this one guy, he gets UAVs, and you call them in. And it pretty much means that nobody on the map is going to be hidden from you. And if you're in like a high activity team, which you're going to be like pushing pretty much any enemy, this perk is probably like the best perk you can have. But only one person in the team should have it because it negates the effects of the other 3 perks, which I think are actually higher in the list. And if you're going to be playing this game as a solo or even as a duo, maybe as a duo one person could have it, but definitely as a solo, I mean, UAVs are kind of hard, or cash is kind of hard to come by in Verdansk as it is. It is something that a lot of people have complained about. But it is like one of the things with this game is that there's not a lot of money, so you're not going to be able to get that many UAVs. Yes, it might be extremely useful for the one UAV you may get, or if you get a UAV early game and you're in a really busy part of the map, you're going to be seeing a lot of red dots and no one's going to be able to sneak up on you. And it means also in the final few circles, if you keep UAV and you pop it in, you call it, you can kind of just see where everyone is and position yourself in the best way possible, so you're more likely to win the game. However, I do think that the 3 perks I've chosen ahead of this would be slightly better. But it's getting in the crunch time here, and it has to be brutal. And Bird's Eye is number 4 on my list. Number 3 now, and we're using the one perk that is countered by number 4. And that is, of course, Ghost. Ghost makes you undetectable by enemy radar pings, and also means that you cannot be detected by some devices. Also, you've got an immunity to heartbeat sensor and proxy alarm. So, Ghost, kind of that one perk that's always been there in Warzone, and it's probably one of the most reliable perks, but I'm kind of putting it at number 3 because it does get countered now by Bird's Eye specifically. And it is a very useful perk, and honestly, if you're starting the game, it's probably the one perk that I do recommend. It kind of keeps you hidden, and kind of like in the early to mid game, you know, you kind of want to be staying hidden if you're like kind of trying to avoid gunfights. You're trying to work how to like win these games. Ghost is kind of, honestly, it's probably essential, especially in solos too. As you see here, if I get a UV and pop it, I can pretty much see where everyone is. And if you're kind of new to the game and you want to kind of, you know, avoid as many gunfights as possible, get to the final circle, we've got a better chance of winning, then by all means, perk Ghost is the one thing that you probably want to be putting in your class first of all. I've got no hard feelings towards anyone that kind of plays the game slow and plays for like a more tactical, stealthy approach. It's just the way that people are going to play the game. And one of the beautiful things about Warzone is there's so many different ways to play this game. Kind of same as any battle royale, but specifically there's so many different ways to play this game. And if Ghost suits your playstyle, then by all means stick it on. However, if I do think you're only going for those higher kill games, I think there are better perks out there, and that's why it's not in number 1 or 2 slot for me. And coming in at number 2, we've got Alertness, and basically Alertness lets you sense when enemies are nearby, and also tells you when you're being aimed at by an enemy. Now this perk is a little bit different because in previous Warzones, if anyone kind of looked in your general direction when you had this on, it would ping, and which means it was a lot better. And to be honest, in this game so far when I've been using this perk, there's been many times where I just like, it hasn't given me an alert even if there's a sniper aiming at me from like a certain distance. So I do feel it's got like a certain bit of a distance cut off, but I still do think this is probably the second best perk you can put in this slot, because that sense when enemies are nearby is extremely overpowered. I mean, it's not overpowered, it's probably, I mean, it's what the perk does. It's very useful. There's a lot of people in Verdansk at the minute kind of like to sit in buildings, you know, camp around corners and just wait for you to come in. But if this perk on, without even being in the building, it's going to tell you that enemies are nearby. So it means that you can kind of slow down, check your corners, and try and clear room by room. And I can't count the amount of times that this perk has saved my life, with people just hiding in corners behind claymores or bouncing betties or whatever, and I've just got a ping and I was able to outplay or like enter a room, like not through the doorway, jump through the window, shoot a guy in the back. And then also whenever I've not been using this perk, I have noticed that I've been killed by a lot more people sneaking up on me or just camping in buildings. So it is definitely a very solid shout, but it's not number 1, because number one is actually Tempered. Now this is probably a very much out there choice, but with the current state of the meta and how Warzone is played right now, Tempered is 100% the best perk you can have in slot 3. Tempered pretty much means that you get up to full plates with just two shields instead of 3. And that means there's a lot of benefits, because you don't need as many shields, and when you do have as many shields, it doesn't take you that many shields to like, get back to full health again. And then also whenever you're shielding up, if you're in the middle of a gunfight, you've got like a 33% less time shielding up, which is actually a lot in this game, because you know as soon as someone makes you weak, they're going to start pushing you. And if you have that extra little time, I mean 33% extra time is actually quite a lot in the grand scheme of things, you're going to have a better chance to be at full health and be able to take another chal. And a lot of people are complaining as well that there's not that much loot in this game, and that's kind of how it's designed as well, and it is quite hard to get shields, and near the end of the match specifically, whenever you're done all your looting, you do tend to run out of shields quite a lot. I mean, it obviously depends on how much damage you take, but in general, you're going to be quite low in shields at the end of the game, which means you're not going to have that much of a struggle trying to get as many shields, because it takes one less for you to get back to full HP. Whereas Alertness and Ghost is probably for players that are less aggressive. I feel like Tempered suits an aggressive player far more, because you're able to get back to full shields and get back in the fight as quick as possible. And this is really important in close quarter gunfights, because you know yourself, if you're getting weak, you have to run away, find a place to heal up. And that means you don't need to run as far away from the fight. You can get back to full shields and rejoin the fight again. So it's definitely the number 1 choice, specifically if you're one of those aggressive players. Maybe if you're not an aggressive player, you might want to second guess this and maybe go for Alertness or maybe even Ghost. But in my books, Tempered takes the outright number 1 spot here. If you don't think so, please let me know down in the comments below, or if you do agree with me, also let me know too, because you know it makes me happy that people share the same opinion as me. But trust me, running Tempered is the way to go in Warzone right now. Put this perk on and it's going to help you out a lot. Thanks for watching. I know this is the first of many Warzone videos to come. I am mainly a multiplayer guy, but I'm dipping my toe in Warzone because I've got a hell lot of Warzone cameras to get, to be honest. But thanks for watching, and hopefully in the next few videos we'll go over slot number 1 and 2. So yeah, have a good one.